Let's call the, let's see, it is, I'll call it 754. Call the meeting to order. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the board present. We can conduct business as usual. At this time, let's discuss some additions, deletions to tonight's agenda. We've got a couple presentations that we'd like to add on, and let's see. Let me start with Mr. Bletcher, Trustee Bletcher.
I would propose to add the following three additions, Mr. Supervisor. One would be Duncan Murdoch with a presentation regarding Tom Pajeski. Number two would be Woody Clark with a presentation from Dump the Junk. And number three would be a presentation for a medal for Grosse Ile Police Officer Douglas Carmack.
So moved. Second? Oh, sorry, seconded by Trustee Budney. Are there any objections to adding these presentations? Okay, with none offered, we'll add those three presentations. Any other additions, deletions to tonight's agenda?
I would like to add consent agenda number 3, approval of request for block party, September 16th on Burning Bush and Hampton.
Support.
Okay, moved by Clerk O'Connor and seconded by Trustee Budney for the block party. Any objection among the board? None offered. That will be added. Any other additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving, I'm sorry.
I think we have to add action item number 7, Island Beautification Committee member resignation.
Thank you. In my notes too, thank you. All right, so moved and second.
Support.
Closed session published in time. Okay. All right, so we're still voting on the block party and the consent agenda.
Island Beautification.
And Island Beautification. Okay. Yeah, no, that would be action item number 7 for Island Beautification. All right, so we had moved by Clerk O'Connor. Who got the second for that?
Support by
All
Ted.
Right, we'll give it to Treasurer Van Oss. Any discussion or objection to that being added? If none offered, that will be added to tonight's agenda. Ma'am. So it shall be. Want to change your vote? No. Good. Okay. And I'd also like to add a closed session for discussion on a current lawsuit.
Second.
Okay. Moved by the supervisor, seconded by the clerk. Objections? That will be so added. Now that we've completely revised tonight's agenda, any other additions or deletions? All right. That, with none offered, those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands amended. All right, with those new items, I'll entertain a public comment on tonight's agenda items. All right, with none offered, we'll move on to presentations. And I'll ask Trustee Malvesto to introduce Chief Murdoch.
Chief Murdoch, would you please, I'm asking you to make this presentation for us. It was a fire, got her?
As we all well know, we lost Thomas Pajeski, our fire marshal, approximately 2 weeks ago to some health issues. Tom Pajeski was a 28-year member of the Grosse Ile Fire Department. He was also very instrumental in the development of our Fire Marshal's Division, which went from a part-time individual to a full-time job, which was very important for the Township of Grosse Ile, the residents, the business owners, and the Township itself. If you knew Tom Pajeski, he was stubborn, he was black and white, right was right, wrong was wrong, and basically it was his way. I worked with Tom for about probably about 10 years of my career so far, that was one nice thing about Tom. You knew where he stood, you knew who he was, and you knew it was probably right. He was a perfectionist beyond belief. I thought I was a perfectionist. I have OCD, but he was worse. But he was a true committed member to the department, to his family, and to the residents of Groseal. He gave 28 years to this island with not an argument out of him ever. He enjoyed it. He was part of our family, and it was actually a surprise when he passed. There was no thought that this was going to happen, but it did, and we missed him dearly. We did bury him on Friday, this past Friday. We laid him to rest, and we want to pass on our condolences to the family and thanked him for all the years of service that Tom gave this community.
This time, let me just ask for a moment of silence in remembrance of Fire Marshal Tom Pajaski, please. So, Chief, thank you for that reminder. I'm just going to throw in a personal observation. Way back when we set up the Gyro Haunted Houses, when I met Tom, and I learned a lot. I'll just say I learned a lot about accident prevention, fire prevention, and Tom was a great help. Once I got through was a great help, and being in that position of the fire marshal, we'll never know how many accidents were prevented, how many fires were averted, how many lives were saved because of his efforts. But we know that happens somewhere, sometime. So, Tom, thanks. Let's see. Mr. Bletcher, did you want to introduce?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. The community will recall that we had the annual Dump the Junk that was handled and managed by Woody Clark. Did an absolutely wonderful job, as he has done with previous events. And he is here tonight to make a presentation, and I invite Woody to come up to the lectern and tell us what he has.
We have Dump the Junk twice a year.
Toggle down, right? All these years, Woody? Now you're...
Technology.
Okay? Got to keep going. Okay, here we go. Good? All right. Pardon? Straight into it. Okay, we have Dump the Junk twice a year, spring and fall. And last year, or this year in March or April, we had money donated to us from, what do you got to do, up, down?
Green light.
Green lights on.
Okay. All right.
Rock star, Woody. Get
Oh, yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Right up there.
Fantastic. Okay, anyway, we have this thing twice a year, and this one we just passed, and we got some money for 3 organizations on the island, and I'd like to bring them up and give them the cash. Okay, we have the Garden Club. That's everybody gets $378.80. Okay. And the next is the Groseal Animal Shelter.
All right, Woody, Mr. Chair, can the ladies from the Garden Club wanted to get a picture of you presenting the check, and if you would just take a moment that they can do that. It'll be a little reenactment.
Right here.
Woody, come back.
It's all good.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clark, and thank you, ladies of the Garden Club. All right. Now that we've raised the podium, we got one more person. Mr. Bletcher?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. At this time, I would like to introduce Chief Porcerelli. We have a Medal of Honor that has been awarded to Grosse-Ile Police Officer Douglas Carmack. Chief, if you describe what the medal is all about and the events that led to the awarding and what part you had in all of that, please.
Good evening. What I wanted to relate tonight is the award that Doug Carmack got at our last Police Commission meeting. And what we do, the Police Chiefs Association of Michigan, each year, you apply for certain awards when an individual goes above and beyond the call of duty and something that is very extraordinary. As you well know, if you haven't heard, there was a gentleman that accidentally backed his vehicle right into the Trenton Channel. And unfortunately, probably on West River roadside, it might be the highest from the road down into the water. It's about 8 feet or so there. It's really quite a drop. It was in the wintertime. The gentleman backed up, and when he went over the seawall, vehicle landed upside down into the ice, and the passenger compartment broke through the ice, so the vehicle is still kind of up on it, but water is now rushing in, and he's upside down, hooked up kind of in his seatbelt. Well, it really was quite a turn of events for this gentleman. I mean, someone was looking down on that day. Actually, a young lady witnessed it who was right coming down the road when he apparently drove right in front of her, kept going and went into the water. Officer Carmack was, why don't you come up first off, Doug? I'm sorry. I want to see him squirm a little when he... Officer Carmack was probably only 30 seconds away, and she actually flagged Officer Carmack down instead of calling. That's how quick he was there. Well, you know, I may kind of joke around about some things, but I was right behind Doug about another half a minute with the deputy chief, and I tell people I'm kind of glad that Doug was in front of me, because what I saw, I wasn't sure how we'd react to it or how long it would take us to get down in there. But Doug took it upon himself. It was just unbelievable. What I saw, I mean, I can't say enough about this issue. Talk about a selfless issue. Went in, he had to break out the back window and get him out before all the water rushed in, and the water was coming anyway into the passenger compartment. If you can kind of see how that would be being upside down. Now he's on the roof of the car on the inside, but hung up still in the seatbelt. Well, Officer Carmack then pulled him out, pulled him right out of the car, brought him to the shore, and him and Sergeant Pellin helped him up to the shore when the ambulance was coming on the way. And what I want you to know is that the Police Chiefs Association of Michigan, we apply for this. And what they do is they review every year to give out, you know, say a handful in the whole state of Michigan. And what this honor was, there's 2 Medal of Honors. One is if an officer is being threatened or the life of a third party is being threatened by another individual in that type of situation. And then there's above and beyond the call of duty of a rescue or something like this. This is the highest honor in Michigan you can get, and Doug received the Michigan Medal of Honor, and it was awarded at the Chiefs Convention a couple months back. And the last commission meeting that we had, he was awarded that at our commission meeting. But I wanted you to be aware, I wanted the public to be aware of, you know, what we have here and the care that these young men and younger men and ladies go through, and what they, you know, what's in their heart, and they really care for the Grosse-Ile citizens. And again, it was such a selfless act. He didn't take himself into consideration. We had a long talk after this issue occurred. He did it without, I mean, he was safe, he was careful, but he did it without care to himself, and that's the kind of officers that I want if they have to come into my house, and that's what I want when I'm a part of this program. And the men and women of our police department, this is just one example. This is 2 individuals in the Grosse-Ile Police Department in the last 20 years since this has come out have got this award, and he's one of them. There's only been 2. So I just want to say thank you. And Doug's a little bashful tonight, so he says thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Officer Carmack. All right, well, concluding tonight's presentations, then we'll move on to consent agenda, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like support for consent agenda 17-026, which includes the approval of a check register through August 11th, 2017, and the approval of a block party application for Burning Bush, Hampton on September the 16th.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer, seconded by Trustee Budney on the consent agenda. Discussion among the board? With none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as reported, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None offered. That moves. Let's go to action item number 1. Mr. Budney.
Thank you, sir. Motion based upon the recommendation of the DPS Commission. Motion to recommend to extend the current contract with Waste Management for an additional 2 years with no increase in cost and for a possible 3rd year by mutual agreement of both parties as to the cost.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss.
I really would like to. I'm going to read the history behind this because I think it's important for the people to understand. Our contract was going to be up at the end of this year, and we were going to go out for bid, and this obviously is going in a different direction, and it's because of the bridge situation. So bear with me here. The current contract with Waste Management for refuse, recycling, and yard waste collection, hauling, and disposal ends November 15th, 2017. This is a 5-year contract which was awarded in 2012 and allows for extension of an additional term of 5 years under special conditions. Generally, the Township has been very satisfied with the performance, operation, complaint resolution of Waste Management. This past spring, Waste Management proposed to DPS a 5-year extension with no increase in cost for 2018 and an annual rate of adjustment of 2.5% increase in each of the remaining 4 years. The DPS Commission evaluated this, and at its May 9th meeting, a resolution was adopted to seek proposals or bids from other firms based on the active level of competition in the area for waste collection contracts. Notices were advertised May 25th for a proposed bid opening on July 20th. Then came the notice from Wayne County for the reduction in weight limits over the county bridge. After 2 meetings with the county weighmaster, it was determined that a definitive directive could not be provided to bidders on the new limited weight restrictions, so the bid opening was canceled. In the meantime, Waste Management has been working with the county weighmaster on the capacity limits of their refuse trucks. The trucks are running at about 80% of capacity. There is also the possibility of further changes in bridge weight limits before repairs can be completed. This matter was taken up by the DPS Commission at its June 13th meeting, and a recommendation was made to extend the Waste Management contract for an additional 3 years with no cost increase. Waste Management agreed to the extension at no cost for 2 years and a 3rd year by mutual agreement of the cost. Therefore, the recommendation is to extend the contract. In going out for a bid, which we like to do to just to make sure what the lay of the land is and what we're looking at for things, in this case waste hauling, that would be our normal procedure. But in this case with the bridge, we certainly believe this is the way to go. We can't tell a bidder what the weight's going to be, what size truck they need, or what, and how much weight they can take over it. So, not wanting to not knowing, first of all, how long it will take to fix the bridge, to bring it back to its maximum weight allowance, we thought this was the best way to go. Any questions?
Questions, comments from the board? Again, your point about there's an unknown out there, and actually, I'm glad they're willing to stick with us, and
so are
get
we.
us through the unknown.
We've Mr. Brian Conway is here with us tonight, and he's worked very well with us. We are very pleased with Waste Management's work, so we had no problem going with the extension.
Other comments, questions from the board?
Supervisor, I see that Mr. Kostick is in the audience. Does he have anything he wishes to add to this work?
He's sitting right next to Mr. Conway, so I think they're getting along.
Yeah, and Lorinda's in
Lorinda's
between.
there too, so. All right, well, that's unanimous. Among the board, any other further questions, comments? None offered. Those in favor of, based upon the recommendation of the DPS Commission, move to recommend to extend the current contract with Waste Management for an additional 2 years with no increase in cost, and for a possible third year by mutual agreement of both parties. As to costs, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Thank you, sir. That will carry.
Supervisor, while we transition, I didn't think it was appropriate to say this during the action item, but, Woody and the Dump the Junk, they don't accept televisions and electronics equipment, and we always talk about how we take part in the Wayne County electronic waste, household hazardous waste collection. Well, in my day job, I came into a lot of useless, broken electronic equipment and discovered that you can take that for free to the Riverview landfill. They have giant dumpsters in the back of their facility, and they will take printers and computers and old medical equipment. They don't take televisions, but they take just about everything else electronic. And it's for free and no appointment. You just drive back and do that. And they also take paper and metal. And so if you find that you have large quantities of stuff that you can't wait till Waste Management comes and picks up, or Waste Management is not allowed to pick it up, that's available to all of us.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson.
I have a proposal that, or I shouldn't say proposal, I'll call it what I want. And anyway, for approval to reapprove SMART as our funding source to get people around the island that we have every year, hospital appointments, doctor's appointments, all that kind of stuff. So that's a motion to approve that we use the same company that we used last year at the same cost.
I would second that.
Okay, moved by Trustee Nelson, second by Trustee Bletcher to approve the municipal credit funds from SMART in the amount of $10,184 for the community transportation program. Ms. O'Farrell, did normally administered through REC? Did you want to make any kind of? I'm guessing no. So this is just cut and dried. And okay, we'll just We'll just go with that. That remains a motion. Questions, comments among the board? This was, and I'm scratching off for the memory, was the replacement for, the credit was in lieu of having the smart buses, as I recall.
Correct.
And we got much, much better return on the dollar going with this program. That's what I was trying to sort out. So anyway.
Do residents still contact the rec department to make appointments? And okay.
Thank you. Other questions, comments from the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving to accept municipal credit funds from SMART in the amount of $10,184 to operate the 2017-2018 Community Transportation Program. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will carry also. No. All right, we'll move on to action item number 3. I move the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees adopt the 2017 revision to the Support Emergency Operations Plan.
Support.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Trustee Budney. The background, it's been a long process. The Support Emergency Operations Plan is an all-hazards plan that supports the Wayne County Emergency Operations Plan in the event of disaster or severe emergency of natural, human, wartime, technological, or terrorism origin. This support EOP meets the requirements of Section 19 of 1976 Public Act 390 and is written in the revised template required by the Michigan State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division, enabling the township to integrate into county, regional, and state plans and responses. This plan will be activated only when a situation or condition exceeds the township's resources to mitigate or control. My background on this, the torrential, the 1,000-year rainfall of 2014, our island was pretty much unscathed, but we can all, from personal experience, recall all the communities we saw that were flooded out. Lives were lost. Transportation systems, infrastructure was taken out. I learned a lot about FEMA, spent a lot of time in crowded rooms, looking at sources for funding, and we're just blessed that this island drains well. But at that point is when I met a few of the state police, and we need you to update your emergency operations plan. That migrated through Wayne County. We are in Region 2 of Michigan's FEMA, and the plan as rewritten with a lot of help from Chief Murdoch and Chief Porcerelli and the board. We have a plan that was well received by Wayne County on our initial review. So if the board approves it tonight, we're good to go, and we may get an opportunity to exercise that plan. Hopefully, we'll never have to dust it off and use it. Questions, comments from the board? Good. With none offered, those in favor of approving or adopting the 2017 revision to the Support Emergency Operations Plan, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Thank you again. Move me to action item number 4. Requesting the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees approve the supervisor's appointment of Mr. Robert Sawyer to the Grosse Ile Township Downtown Development Authority.
Support.
I'll give this one to the treasurer. Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss. And I'm going to have our DDA director, I'm going to read the background, but have her say a little bit about Mr. Sawyer. We're repopulating the DDA, and I'm just really pleased with the people we're bringing on board. But Angela, if there's anybody who can inspire you to really love our downtown, she's the one. But here's the background is, the charter for Grosse Ile's Downtown Development Authority requires that at least 5 of the members have an interest in property located in the downtown district. Appointment of Mr. Sawyer fulfills that requirement. Mr. Sawyer served in numerous community positions while a Trenton resident and has demonstrated an interest in improving the business climate of Macomb Street. His appointment was recommended by voice vote at DDA's July 20th meeting.
I think Robert's another great addition to the DDA board. We had 2 openings. We've had 2 openings on the board over the last couple of years, and we just kind of said, as we get the right applicant, we'll fill those seats. And Robert came to us. He lives on Macomb Street, so he very much would like to see vibrancy down there. He has a lot of great ideas. He knows how to get things done, and I think he will be a fun, energetic addition to the DDA board, and we're all in agreement on that.
And probably many of you don't know those pink GI lift signs. That's his business. I've used it. It's nice and it's convenient.
It is. It's a great addition.
Questions, comments from the board? Don't want to harass Angela? Okay. Any questions?
Well, probably not a welcome comment, but yes, the signs are nice. But one thing that came up at the Planning Commission, and I am the Planning Commission liaison, is that there is a time limit on the amount of time you can leave a sign out when it starts to act as like an advertising or billboard. So when people do put these signs on their lawn signs, there is a time limit for how long they can keep it out there. And, we have an enforcement official, but he's also extremely busy. But it just helps for people to know.
Okay, great.
He will be so advised. Thank you. Other questions, comments from the board? None offered. Those in favor of approving the appointment of Mr. Robert Sawyer to the Grosse Ile Township Downtown Development Authority, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. With that, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So I would like to make a motion to adopt the principles set forth by the Michigan Townships Association Principles of Governance as an official policy of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees, by which we will demonstrate our collective commitment to fostering efficient and effective township government. So thank you. That was a very quiet support.
Support. That's even a larger one. But
So,
Ted was first.
Okay, we'll give it to Ted. Moved by Clerk O'Connor, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss.
So with this pledge, basically, as if you follow the news, you realize we are living through some fairly contentious times, particularly in the world of politics. And I wanted us as a board to kind of make a statement or renew a statement that this board made in its previous iteration with Clerk Ranka, that we want to make a statement to our residents and our constituents and our neighbors that together we all work for all of you. And in spite of our different views and perspectives on all the different issues that face us, and then I would like to add, actually, because of all those different views and perspectives that we have, that we actually, as a board, do serve all of you. And we work hard to make sure that everybody's voice is heard at the table as we hammer out consensus that ends up in action items that we vote on. So the pledge reads, we pledge to insist on the highest standards of ethical conduct by all who act on behalf of this township, to bring credit, honor, and dignity to our public offices through collegial board deliberations and diligent, appropriate responses to constituents' concerns, to actively pursue education and knowledge and embrace best practices, to treat all persons with dignity, respect, and impartiality without prejudice or discrimination, to practice openness and transparency in our decisions and actions, to cooperate in all reasonable ways with other governmental entities, and to consider the impact our decisions may have outside our township's borders, to communicate to the public township issues, challenges, and successes, and welcome the active involvement of stakeholders to further the township's well-being, to strive for compliance with all state and federal statutory requirements, to refuse to participate in any decisions or activities for personal gain at the expense of the best interests of the township, and to further the understanding of the obligations and responsibilities of American citizenship, democratic government, and freedom. These principles we pledge to our township, our state, and our country. To you.
We all had a chance to read this, look it over, give our thoughts, if any, about it. Any comments from the board? None offered. Those in favor of adopting the Townships Association Principles of Government, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None offered? Very good. Thank you, Mrs. O'Connor.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll try to be louder next time.
Let's see. Mr. Nelson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would move based upon the recommendation of trustee and community recreation liaison Jim Nelson to appoint Chad Novak as the chairperson of the Community Recreation Commission effective August 14th, 2017 to March 31st of 2018.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Nelson, seconded by Trustee Budney.
A quick history. At the June 22nd, 2017 meeting of the CRC, which is the Community Recreation Commission, the Commission voted to recommend Walt Ketcher as the chairperson. Based upon review of the CRC and recreation operations, as liaison, I am recommending the current vice chair be appointed to the chairperson post in order to move the recreation program into a new and different direction.
Comments from the board?
Yes.
Vesto.
Apologize, I'm totally confused. Was this brought forth by the commission itself? I'm sorry, was Chad brought forward by the commission and voted on by the commission?
No.
So this is strictly your decision?
No. Dale and I.
Okay, but it has not been supported by the commission is what I'm asking.
Correct.
Approximately a month ago, you were going to come back to the board with a plan. We took this off the agenda at the time, and is this the plan?
Through March 31st of 2018, yes, it is.
Mr.
I don't know how you can move this forward without the chair. Without the commission being behind it. It's normally the responsibility of the commission to appoint, approve, and bring before the township board the person that was selected for the chair. And I don't know how you can move on this without having their support.
I just want to clarify one thing. March 31st is the day that we generally appoint or reappoint or newly appoint chairs. So it would basically be nominating someone to move into a position to fill out the term of.
But that was pulled off. That was pulled off back in this past March, and maybe it's me. I'm just confused. But this is not brought forth before the township board. It has not been brought forth by the commission. This was strictly the choice of two people.
I would interject a thought here, Mr. Supervisor, if I may. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Malvesto as follows. Article 11 of the Community Recreation Commission indicates under the Section G, Actions by Commission, Voting, and Quorum, number 2. At the beginning of the township's calendar year, i.e. April 1st, the commission shall nominate a chairperson to be approved by the township board. The township board did receive a nomination, and the township board declined to accept the nomination. It is my interpretation of that action that in the event that was rejected, the township board is then not only has the power but is required to make an appointment to fill that vacancy or to fill that the balance of that term. That's the way I interpret that section. That's the way I interpret that ordinance. I think the township board has a duty and an obligation to put a chairperson at the head of every commission, including the rec commission.
My recollection is that we didn't. It was pulled. The name was pulled prior to that. That same night of that meeting. It was pulled and not made. Very few of us were even made aware of it. It was surprised. It was more or less a surprise to each and every one of us at that meeting because there was no explanation as to why. So the board did not vote to approve or disapprove the chair for that position. It was removed.
But our position now, we have a nomination for a chair. We have a motion and a second.
What's the purpose of having a commission then? What purpose do they serve?
The purpose is for them to put forth someone, which they did, and it's been rejected.
I don't know who rejected it.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry. This has somewhat of a personal element to me because I also served on a commission that basically the board decided to dismantle. As painful as that process was, I do believe, Tom Assorti, our attorney, correct me if I'm wrong, but boards and commissions serve at the pleasure of the township board. And so it is our duty and our obligation to make sure that we have a full board. Now, possibly this motion could have been written differently. I don't know if the community recreation director also agrees with this decision. I know this is becoming stressful in a sense, And so I would like to think that the person that has been put forward by this motion is actually doing an honor to the position in offering to serve out the term. And then the commission has a chance to regroup and nominate a new chair for next April 1st.
Treasurer.
This is tough. Number one, I commend Chad for stepping up and agreeing to chair that commission. I understand there have been some problems with that commission. I know several members of that commission that I respect very highly, and I am probably the biggest supporter of the commission system here in the township. However, I don't feel that the policies and procedures of the township were followed, because it very clearly states that the Recreation Commission chair will be selected from amongst the Recreation Commission, which they did. Now, I don't think it was ever rejected by this group, because I don't think it ever came forward to this group.
You are correct. I stand corrected
However,
on that.
I think it's imperative that, based on kind of what Uta said today about our necessity to govern in the best interest of the township, I would be at odds if I were the liaison to a commission and that commission selected a chair and this board turned it down. I probably would no longer be sitting on that commission, personally. However, I know this commission, and I know how devoted they are to what they do, and they know also that this thing needs to move forward. So in respect to the person selected, and with respect to the liaison to this commission, who I think is working his rear end off trying to put this together, and some discussion to the new recreation director, I think we need to move forward with someone to lead a director or a chairman in this board to move this, because we have a lot of issues with the recreation department that we have to resolve. So although I do not agree with the way we got here, I do not agree with the fact that we are not going according to township ordinances. If I were to vote no for this, it would reflect my opinion of the person that stepped up to take it, and I don't want to do that. So I apologize to the Recreation Department. I'm sorry we got here. I apologize to the Recreation Commission. I'm sorry for the way we got here. But we do need to move forward, and this is one of those decisions that this board has to make that probably isn't real tasteful, just in the manner of how we got here. That's all.
This board has agonized over this for some time.
If I may,
You may, Mr. Knighty.
This is a tough one. That's the rec department does have a lot of difficulties that have to be overcome. This is something that's been dragging on. I have my reservations regarding that, but I too tip my hat to Chad for stepping up, and Mr. Nelson evidently thinks this is the right move, and I will support him with reservation. I want to see something happen, but I would support it.
Mr. Nelson.
Thought I knew the protocol, but apparently I erred. I apologize for the way it was handled, done. That this body did not vote on the recommendation of the commission that was sent to us.
Recommendation.
Yeah, in reading the language that Kyle read, I hate to say this out loud, but I have to. The commission is currently a little bit dysfunctional, and has been for a few years. I would like it like the DPS Commission again, where the Commission brings issues to the Township Board for us to vote on, whether it be resurfacing West River or whatever. The Township, the CRC, has to be involved in bringing issues to us. And then we vote, yea or nay. So I would encourage the current board, that'll stay in place through the 31st of March until 2018. We will work to try and be functional. We have to move some things forward. You guys probably all know that, the golf course is an issue, and Sunrise Park is an issue, and we got to get our arms around this thing and get it rolling in the right direction. So with that, my recommendation to the board is Chad Novak.
Other comments from the board? All right, with none offered, based on the recommendation of Trustee Community Recreation Commission Liaison Jim Nelson to appoint Chad Novak as chairperson of the Community Recreation Commission effective August 14, 2017 through March 31st, 2018. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Mr. Malvesto stands opposed. The motion carries. And Island, one more. I'll Island beautification.
Oh, give me the bad news. No.
Well,
No, I would like to move to accept with regret the resignation of Gerard Page from the Island Beautification Committee effective August 1st, 2017.
Support.
okay, moved by Clerk O'Connor, seconded by Trustee Budney.
Jerry and I served together on the now defunct Communication Commission. His heart was always in the right place in terms of serving the township. He wrote us a letter. I regret to inform you of my decision to resign my appointment to the Island Beautification Committee effective immediately. It has been an honor to serve in this capacity and with some truly fine volunteers, but I simply must ease the commitments on my time. I will continue to be around the island doing what I can, where I can. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve. Well, and thank you, Jerry, for serving us, and we'll be seeing you at Kroger.
Questions, comments? I'll just second what Ms. O'Connor said. Jerry was involved in a lot of things. He did make a difference. So those in favor of accepting with regret the resignation of Gerard Page from the Island Beautification Committee effective August 1st, 2017, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Again, thanks, Jerry. And that concludes our action items for tonight. Let's see. We'll move into the clerk's report. Madam Clerk.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say thank you to Sharon for having me so beautifully prepared, and again for basically slogging through the day-to-day duties of the department along with Brian Friel. A couple of little things. We've got new We have new voting equipment coming. The state of Michigan is bringing new vote equipment to voters in all Michigan communities through the use of federal grants, state and local funding. Grosse Ile Township is in the process of receiving new technology, and we are in the process of preparing ourselves and our election inspectors and the general public as we will be using it on the November 7th, 2017 local election. The new equipment is designed to enhance security, accuracy, and provide a paper trail of every election. We would like you to stay tuned for more information on the clerk's page of the township website. As you know, our department has worked hard. Sharon, 20 years we've been at this, staying on top of technology, staying on top of accuracy, and we've always valued our system, though we've sometimes wanted to damage our machines. because they provided us the best of both worlds. We had electronic equipment, but we had a paper trail to follow back on if we had to be recounted for any reason. So it's not that much different from what we currently have, but it is updated and we're hoping a little bit easier to use, more intuitive, let's say. With that said, we are accepting applications for election inspectors. And as you know, we are one of those communities that pays their election inspectors to volunteer their day and their time. And we offer pizza and donuts on a good election cycle. You must be a registered Michigan voter over the age of 18. But we may also hire one high school student per precinct over the age of 16 with permission of parent and school. And what we have found is that these junior members have been very helpful in instructing our senior members on the use of the technologies that are involved now with the elections. We do training, but I think we now pay a lump sum, no longer hourly. Election day hours are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Usually people get started around 4 a.m. And but we do try to provide coffee. Minimal computer skills are helpful, but they're not required. And of course, you must have transportation to and from the precinct. I have to say, over the years, our election team has gotten to know each other very well, and similar, volunteers at the precincts every year. You probably know that you're voting in the right precinct because you recognize the people behind the counter. But we are always looking for new faces to join the family, and if you or someone you know is interested, they don't even have to be a Grosse Ile resident. They can be from a neighboring community as long as they're from Wayne County. And then finally, a little tidbit here. There are two newly signed bills, Public Acts 113 and 114, that were sponsored by Representatives Hank Vaupel and Edward Canfield, which will be removing the little political symbols from the ballots. So if you've become accustomed to seeing the little elephant with the stars or the little donkey with the stars, those will no longer be appearing on ballots. And part of the reasoning was with the end of straight party voting, that they were afraid that the use of these symbols would lead people to believe if they were clicking on one with the symbol, they were clicking for all with the symbol. So, but the other reason was also that now there'll be more room on the ballot and it might be a little easier to read. So those are the items of note for the elections. And if you have any questions, if you want to see sample ballots, have questions about absentee ballots, call the clerk's office. We have a permanent absentee voter list. If you wish to have your name placed on it, what it will entitle you to is that we will automatically send you an application for an absent voter ballot with every election. And we will not automatically send you a ballot. We will send you an application, and you have to complete that application prior to every election, unless there is a primary and a general and you elect to get your absentee ballot for both through one application. But this is a local election. It's only one question on the ballot. We're relieved that it'll be a learning opportunity on a relatively small scale. We're not rolling out new equipment during a presidential election, which we would be running for Toledo right now, Aaron and Brian and I. So that's it for the clerk's report. I do have one little comment I'd like to make. And maybe I'm asking, I've asked Dale about this before, and Supervisor Loftus and I talked about it too. Some of you may have noticed there is a new ramp that lets you take your canoe or kayak down to the water at Sunrise Park. And I think that's an excellent, excellent addition, and I've been seeing a lot of people using it. But my question is, did the township follow all procedures? Did the people who built the ramp follow the procedures? Was there a permit? Was it inspected? And are we liability covered? You say that a little louder for the microphone, sir.
Yes, we are covered.
Excellent.
Kim, do you want to add anything to that?
No?
I
Okay.
think she's passing.
And I'm bringing it up because it's a question I've been asked quite a few times in Kroger, and as you're walking around, people are like, "Yeah, look at that," and how did that come about? And so I'm glad I'm able to provide an answer. And then the last Kroger comment is, some residents would like us to maybe have a forum when we learn more about what's. See, Ted, look what I'm doing. When we learn more about what's going on with the bridge, that we maybe have a public forum at which we inform residents of different options and so. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Brian. For the month of June, Grosse Ile Township had $16,909,654 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated an interest income for that period of $18,808. Now, we didn't rob a bank, but we did have bond money where when we decided to do the West River and East River road repair, or water main repair, I'm sorry. We did the East River. The West River was going to require some heavy engineering, which would have delayed it for a year, but to get the better interest rate, we bonded at the same time. Our finance director said, this is going to sit idle for about a year. She took it, brought it to me, and we talked about it, and we invested that in a CD that gave us 0.645, probably about 1% interest in it, 1.5%, which generated the additional $18,000 in revenue. Now the fear is we have this money in the bank to do the road. With the engineering's moving forward, I don't know how the bridge is going to affect this project. This may end up in the CD for a while. Fortunately, when we took it, there was a payment delay offered by the bonding people of a couple of years, so we don't have a payment due on it. Make some money on it, which is probably a good thing. But that's how we ended up with an $18,000 interest. And I want to thank Ann, because that's what she does. And she does it very well, and she does it every day, and nobody knows. So I thought it would be important that this is why professionals of the township step up and see this and say, this is an opportunity for us to make some more money on undesignated funds. There's no sense in collecting a 0.2 or 0.3% interest if we can move it forward legally. I'm going to add legally. The detail of our investments are on my website. Where all the money that we have in the bank and in various accounts is listed. You can go to my website and take a look at that. The Treasurer's Office has been busy collecting summer tax payment from mortgage companies and individuals, which are due on September the 14th, 2017. An extension for the summer tax due is available for those who qualify, yet the deferment application must be submitted by September 14th. Summer deferment applications are available at the Treasurer's Office. See Annette, she'll help you through it. And approved deferments will extend the payment due date from September 14th through February 14th of 2018. As of today, we've collected about 17% of the summer tax roll distribution of the school and county taxes, and we've made our payments in a timely fashion. And I think that's all I have. I don't think there's another DPS meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Let's move on to trustee reports. We'll start with Mr. Nelson.
I was remiss in not thanking Walt Ketcher for all he's done. on the Recreation Commission, both as a member and as the chair, so I apologize for not saying that, obviously, to the community, but he has done an excellent job. I just think it's time to move forward. So I've said that. And Chad, you want a Island Fest report? On we're going to make, you're going to double the money next year that we made?
Angela to get up here, but I do want to make a comment about the transition that we're going through with my appointment as the chairperson. No one mentioned that I have been the vice chairman of that commission since last November, and they did vote me in as at that. I know I'm going to get a little bit of resistance, but we need to run that place like a business and have the fun back into the rec area. And I'm involved with everything from the marina to the farms to the fields across the street, so it's not like I'm going in blindsided. I know the yays and nays to run the meetings from the one we do a year for Island Fest. So I promise not to let you down. And I'm in the phone book. Y'all got my cell phone number. So I look forward to taking the reins for that commission and hoping go into a new, good, profitable, fun direction. Now, what was the question, Mr. Nelson? But I do know that Island Fest is part of this event going on, so I don't want to steal away from Angela Sukokis, but I need her and Kim O'Farrell to come up here. We're going to give a shot to, yeah.
Lots of stuff going on.
So as you can see at the bottom, the 4 logos that are putting on this event is At Home on Macomb, which is the DDA, the Island Fest Commission, the Roseville Recreation, and the Rotary. I'm going to do a little brief breakdown, and then Angela, you can elaborate on everything. So if you look at the event, Friday, it's Paint the Town Red. It's been a concept for 3 years that I brought up after Centennial Celebration. We decided to choose Homecoming Weekend, which falls September 22, 23, 24. Friday is the Homecoming Parade. The Rotary is going to be doing free hot dogs and bottled water for a mock-up tailgate party at Lions Park. A lot of this is focused at Lions, and everything else is on Macomb Street, a way to bring back an event for the business owners, and there's 72 of them. Oh, that's your thing there. Yep. 72 business owners on Macomb Street, so it'd be nice to see some things going on. Saturday, we're going to do the Taste of Groseal, and all the businesses once again, and the clubs around the island will be on Macomb Street. Fun Fair starts at 2. We got a craft beer tent being sponsored by the Groseal Alliance for the Arts with entertainment all day. We got a petting zoo coming in. And then Sunday is the 3rd annual Tour de Eel, which is the Rotary's thing. This year they're leaving from Lions Park where the registrations are at 7 a.m. We got Knights of Columbus committed for a pancake breakfast a little later. Food truck rally comes in around noon. And then we're going to do the business and bike contest. I'm going to let Mrs. Sukokis touch on that. So Paint the Town Red. You're starting to see the signage and going around. It's going to be a 3-day weekend event. Hey, Joe and Duncan. More security. All right. This is our DDA director, Angela, and I, and Kimberly, and John Bergen from Rotary have been working on this. So.
There's not a whole lot more to add. I know there's not a whole lot more to add other than when we first started talking, and when we first started talking at the DDA meetings, I had talked with Chad a few times. I had talked with John a few times. I said, can we do this? And we kind of started out thinking, okay, well, maybe we could do something for Friday night. And then it just kind of rolled into this, and we are all very excited. I think the business owners on Macomb, like he said, there are 72 businesses on Macomb, which I love telling people that, because once I finally finished inventorying what we had on Macomb, that's a treasure that people don't even know about in and of itself. And we really want to utilize the whole street during the celebration. Lions Park is the corner of Lions and Macomb, and we're really trying to use that a lot more to get people from the start to the finish on Macomb, so they really can see the value that we have there. And then really to kind of change it up. So you're not going to see the same thing on Friday that you'll see on Saturday and that you'll see on Sunday. So the idea is to get the community out and about the entire weekend, come hang out with each other, get all of the community groups involved in one way or another, showcase themselves. I'm still I've considered a fairly new resident to Groseal. I've been here not quite 3 years, and I think that we have so many great groups that a lot of people, newcomers, have no concept what we have available. So I really want to showcase that on Macomb Street, and the businesses are excited. As Chad had mentioned on Sunday, too, the Tour de Ile takes place, and that really showcases the whole island. And they'll even go up and all around, and they have a few different routes to choose from. And oftentimes the Tour de Ile would just include the cyclists. So now we're getting people down there for the pancake breakfast. Some of the business owners will be open and handing out waters and bringing people out and about. And then later in the day, we're going to have a children's bike parade and scooter rally. So we get the young families out as well with the kids, and they can see everything as well. So I'm really excited. I'm mostly excited that we have 4 groups together that are planning this, and then we're incorporating everybody else, and the businesses are excited as well. So hopefully everyone will mark their calendars and come on out. Oh, also, as part of the fun fair, we're trying to go really old school on some of this and bring back some fun events, pie eating contests, one of which is a pie in the face contest. So we're hoping that we can get the politicians involved.
That's what I was going to
Is that what you were going to? Okay.
Right.
And some policemen.
And some police and fire and...
Take the first pie.
Excellent, excellent. So we would love some participation, if you would. Sorry. Sorry.
The reward for that is that you get to judge the pie contest. Come here, Jim. So when you get up there, you get to judge the pie contest, which all 4 of the congregations are, well, 3 out of the 4 so far have committed that their people are going to make these pies. So what another great thing of all the people on the island getting together. And the ones we're going to use for anyone who wants to volunteer will be the whipped cream and the pie stuff. So.
One other thing I do want to mention that we're working on, just to get the word out there, if any, for those who are watching, and more information will be coming. But we're working together this Downriver Rocks and Groseal Rocks trend that's going on. I mean, it's really going on all over the country. All these different communities have these Facebook pages. So we're going to trim and take down some of the trees that are in that front corner at Lions Park and start a Groseal Rocks Spirit Rock Garden. And we're starting with we really want some of the children's groups, scout groups. I know I'm a Girl Scout leader, so I have some of my Girl Scouts starting this week to paint some rocks, and we're going to invite kids all over Groseal to paint and drop off rocks up until that event, so that we have a nice little red and gray spirit garden. So that's...
I just want to thank Kim for her comments.
That's why she's here.
Yeah.
How are we doing, Mr. Nelson?
We're doing just fine. They are.
How's your trustee report coming along?
They just gave it.
Okay.
They're good at it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nelson and company. Mr. Malvesto.
Well, we did not have a fire commission meeting this past month. There's really nothing new there, other than the guys are still making calls. Weekends are exceptionally heavy. They're out literally all night long. On the 19th is the Island garage sale, as everyone is well aware. But for the 3rd year in a row, the BPAC Commission is doing a walk the path at the Macomb Commons. It'll be from 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock. Barry Van Eglen will be there providing entertainment. There will be free hot dogs, lemonade. It's just a way for people who walk up and down the path on a given Saturday to stop by and have a free hot dog and just enjoy themselves. So please show up. You'll notice that at the Commons area we've put in a doggy trash bag dispenser. We have more coming. They're actually the Tails is providing them for us. The BPAC is putting them up, and we'll be maintaining them. So as you walk your dog down the path, they were on back order, so we're waiting for them to come in. But as you walk your dog down the path and you're short of a bag, you'll be able to, the dispensers will be placed in various locations on the path itself. It'll be up to you to dispose of that bag, but the bags will be there. But, on the 19th from 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock at the Commons, walk the path, Barry Van Eglen with entertainment. Stop on by and see us. And it's also the same day that Wayne State runs the Barradour bike ride. And from what I read, there are approximately just over 100 cyclists that are have signed up to make the 100-mile ride down to Grosse Seal and back. So if you see a lot of cyclists on the road, that's the reason. They have a pretty aggressive schedule. I think they leave around 7 o'clock in the morning, and they expect to be here between 10 and 11 o'clock. Pretty good ride. Those boys are cranking out some miles. So if you see a lot of cyclists, give them some room. They're there for a reason, but they're going to come down and visit us and go back. They claim that's the highlight of their bike ride, but it's the Wayne State Barrador. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Budney.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. No ZBA meeting. I hate to break everybody's heart month after month, but no ZBA meeting again this month. Our DPS meeting was last week just because of the way usually it follows this meeting, but because of the way the month fell, it was last week. We had a lengthy discussion about purchasing a television truck. That's for televising the sewer system, which we're mandated to do now. Unfortunately, not much of it could be heard because of the microphone situation. But we're working on various things. We're also starting to discuss roads. We have to come up with a plan. We will be looking when we do this to have the public give their comments on it, and unfortunately, it is going to require probably a millage. There's no way around it. Wayne County is not going to be able to afford to come and pave our roads. So, in fact, I'd like to call Mr. Kostick up right now to make some comments.
Good evening, everybody. Bill Kostick. I'm with the DPS Commission, and I'm not going to put on the same kind of show that we just had. Sorry. But we are here to talk about roads again and tonight. And our commission had an interesting discussion. And basically, you will recall over the last 6 or so years, we've gone a couple times to the voters and asked for financial support to fix the roads. One of the criticisms we heard at the last one was that two issues. There was too much money that we asked for. It was some $18 million for both water main and roads. Too long a period of time, 20 years to retire the debt. And the other comment was for many people, well, the county owns the roads. Let the county fix them. So that began to affect my thinking about what are we doing on roads? We're not doing anything. I think we've had more complaints this year I've received, and I think that the township manager has, and I know DPS has, people are looking for somebody to help with roads. So on this question of Wayne County, we did a little research. It was easy to get the information. But the county has created, and always has had, a needs list. The top 100 projects for the county that they're going to undertake with construction, resurfacing, rebuilding a road. And then the backdrop to that is, SEMCOG, one of the things they do is they coordinate the regional transportation plan and Wayne County's construction program every year, where they take on about 14 to 17 projects, basically 14 to 17 miles. TIP, Transportation Improvement Plan. It's a 4-year program. What we've done is we've assembled the needs list information, brought memos of that to distribute to you tonight. So the commission discussed this, and we thought that you should be aware of it as well. I'm going to just basically not read this, but I'm going to hand this out before I leave the podium tonight. But what I want to share with you is the needs list is 100 projects that the county's established for road resurfacing and reconstruction. West Road, that we're all familiar with through portions of Trenton and Woodhaven, was just completed. And that was on the needs list. That was on their TIP, the Transportation and Construction Program for this year. Actually, it was on last year's plan. They didn't get it done until this year. We do not have any projects on the 100 projects list. The needs list is based on traffic capacity, the surface condition of the roads, the average daily traffic, and the importance of the road to moving traffic, whether it's to commercial areas or to other between communities like West Road. We don't have a project on the list. So what I'm going to give you is this information, and I think I tried to explain what the basis of being on the list is. And there's another 40 projects that cities were able to submit that aren't on that didn't make the list either. City, you have the ability to submit projects. All our roads are owned by Wayne County, so all of anything that they would put on from the island would be obviously. So that's the news, and that's the starting point. What we talked about as a commission is that we're going to keep this on our agenda now, and under the assumption that that this falls within our purview, that we would come back to you with any recommendations. In the past, that's been the situation, so we didn't want to start talking about it without coming to you and sharing our ideas at this point. The next thing we've done is we're doing cost estimates for various segments of our primary roads. Meridian, East River, West River, Church Road, Ferry, several others, so that we know what the fix should be and what the cost would be. Getting that together. And at our next meeting, we're going to discuss those issues. Then we thought we should hold a public hearing at some point before the holidays, so we can work on a plan, because in 2018, there are a couple of elections, and I know they're going to be filled up with other issues, but how long do we ignore the roads? That's the basic question. I mean, our roads are bad. They're deteriorating before our eyes. Heard a lot of comments about our chip seal program, where we tried to save a lot of money by fixing roads, and we did some good work with it. One road didn't turn out so great, but I'm aware that on M72 from Grayling to Kalkaska last year, MDOT did a double chip seal on a major highway. The road is in beautiful condition. They did it this year, a double chip seal on a highway where traffic's moving 50 to 60, 70 miles an hour. You got heavy trucks and a lot of traffic. So at any rate, I just mentioned that because I hear a lot of talk about the chip seal. It was a way to try to save money and get more done. And some of our roads, well, most of our roads are beyond chip sealing at this point. So at any rate, so I wanted to hand this out to you tonight for you to take home and look at the lists. It's interesting that as far as all of Wayne County is concerned, they do about one, sometimes two projects a year in downriver, what area we would call downriver. Remember 4th Street not too long ago? Now one of the big priorities as you look at this list will be Van Horn, actually, Telegraph to Inkster Road, which is in very bad shape. It's in very bad shape. I drove Middle Belt the other day between King and Sibley. It's in very bad shape. So that's our competition. We're competing with 7 Mile Road in Livonia, Lakeshore Drive and Grosse Points. I mean, our competition is very tough. And I'm not saying anything negative about the county. I suppose if I were working for the county, I would probably rate the roads the way they have. So we wanted you as a commission to see this information so you can begin to digest it. And we would certainly welcome any of your thoughts as we start to move forward. So we're going to try to collect as much information as we can, gather public input, share information, and that's basically where we are. I'll cut myself off at this point.
Bill, can I ask a question?
Sure.
How does the county bridge and the anticipated work affect the TIP program and your ability to raise funds for roads? Is Wayne County going to be looking at that and saying, potentially, we've done enough for Grosse Ile for this year, or what's your expectation?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Carl, because the back page lists some special project earmarked funds. And I was intending to tell you this, and I was going to forget about it. But there is earmarked federal dollars that the county has, $2,879,000 for the Grosse Ile Bridge. Now, it was originally to study and design improvements to it. Now, we were told that that money would be used to do any repairs. There's also at the state level what they call a critical bridge fund. Those are resources that the county probably will tap. To answer your question, will the county's mentality be that we've given enough if we repair the bridge? Who knows? I think the past county administration, going back 4 years or so, probably would have thought that way. This group now seems to be much more responsive. They've come out and initiated meetings with us. One project we have coming up this year that we hope to build in the spring of 2018 is to replace the last 2 miles of West River Road water main, which is 80-year-old 6-inch main that when we have a water break, you look at it, it's only 3 inches open of the water main. So we're going to replace it with a 12-inch, would mean that the whole township has got a 12-inch main around its perimeter. And the fire chief has been supportive of that. But we're going to put it under the road. So in our project budget, we've allocated enough money to do the one lane, which would be the east lane, the northbound lane. We asked the county in a meeting by a special request if they would participate in resurfacing the other lane when we do ours. And to our surprise, they've said, "We think we will." So we don't have, they're preparing what's called an interlocal agreement. We've given them some cost estimates. I don't want to say that was weeks ago, but we haven't had a response yet, but we're going to push to get it.
What segment is that, Bill?
It would be from basically the bridge, the county bridge, basically the wastewater treatment plant to Church Road. That's the most heavily we've done traffic counts there, and that's the most heavily traveled portion of, there's not a lot of traffic on West River compared to Meridian or East River or Church Road and some of the others, but nevertheless, it's in very bad shape. So, hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Bill, I appreciate, too, that we're having a better relationship with the county. I think what's occurred to me as I used to commute all the way out to Northville or to Ann Arbor is that here on Grosse Ile, we're basically 12,000 people who use the roads on a daily basis, but we have no through traffic, whereas a lot of these other communities, like you were pointing out, Lakeshore Drive and 7 Mile Road in Livonia, and some of these places have tremendous traffic, and so we kind of do fall down the list because we're literally an island. But your presentation, is there a way that we can make it easier to get on that list, or is there a way to recommend getting on that list, or is it simply collecting facts and making sure that they know the condition of the roads?
Meridian was on the list. We were in the 80 range out of the 100 in 2013. In 2014, then we disappeared. Other projects became a greater priority. So the rating formula is in here. First of all, and I don't want to bore you with the details, first thing is a PASER rating. So they do surface conditions. So on surface conditions, we would qualify probably, no question. Then average daily traffic counts comes into play. On East River, we have 3,000 vehicles a day. How does that stack up against 50,000 vehicles a day on Ford Road, Middle Belt? So there's only so much money to go around. Now, I would say the county's been great this year in patching potholes. I mean, seriously, they've done a pretty good job of that for us. When we call, they're responsive. That's important to us, but our roads are still a mess. So with that, if there are any other questions, I'll just hand this out. You can take it home and look at it. The commission, Mr. Budney and I wanted to make sure that you were all aware that we're going to start talking about roads, and we would probably be coming back to you. We're going to keep you informed. We're going to have a public hearing. We're going to probably invite you to it. And any public hearing we've had in the past has been poorly attended, I will tell you that.
But we're
going to try to promote it now through Grosse Ile Connect. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Kostick.
Kim, any comments?
Okay. And turn over the mic to Trustee Bletcher.
I got
wrap
one.
up the trustee reports.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Again, I have the pleasure of sitting on two commissions. One is the Open Space Greenways. Update with Open Space Greenways, we are still pursuing access between Ferry Road and Island to replace the former trail that linked Gage with Lowry. That is going slowly, less productive than hoped for, and certainly a lot longer than I had anticipated. We've also met with representatives, landowners who have a parcel of properties they are interested in having the township look at and consider. And Mr. Ream has also sent out a letter of interest to landowners of yet another parcel, considering an offer for the sale of that property to the township. And we are awaiting responses and further activity on those three parcels and projects. We have a limited amount of funds to work with. There's approximately $500,000 in the open space fund, and that is going to have to last because this is the last of the money that we have. There's no more millages, no more support for that from a financial standpoint, so we are looking to use that wisely, and we'll report back to the township when we have something positive and something further to go on that, but we're hoping one of those three projects will come to fruition. I also have the privilege of sitting on the Police Commission, and one of the regular issues that we have had there is coyotes, and I want to give you a quick update on that. Our last meeting included some representatives from the community that were interested in knowing what we were doing with coyotes, why we still have a coyote problem. Chief Porcerelli was able to address that, and not only to communicate the fact that we have trapped in 5 separate locations and have trapped or removed 43 coyotes in the last 24 months, but that the commission, and in fact the entire department, do not consider coyotes to be just a police problem, but we look at those as a community problem. And by that, I mean we're looking for a community resolution, and that comes in 2 ways. One is any ideas that members of the community have that we have not implemented or considered, please come forth. One of the citizens that came to the last meeting indicated that it would be very helpful to have a instructional, informational period with the children in the schools so that they understand that when you are feeding other animals, including deer or other things like that, the supervisor has confirmed previously that what falls on the ground from a bird feeder or a deer feeder draws the moles, the mice, and the voles. And when you do that, you bring in coyotes. And it is not simply an issue of, gosh, they're cute to have in the front yard, or I like to see that buck with the 10 points in my backyard. It's becoming a serious problem for all of your neighbors. And regretting to have to report to the community that it's not just a problem in the areas where we have a lot of open space. We, in fact, had a family that lost their small dog on Macomb Street a week and a half ago. And they were outside in the garage. The coyote came in, made an attack on a cat and a dog. The cat was able to respond appropriately by clawing the face of the coyote. The dog, however, had to be put down. This is a serious problem for everyone who considers feeding deer, considers feeding the squirrels, because what you're doing is you're also indirectly feeding the coyotes. When the stuff hits the ground, it becomes food for vermin, and vermin are the favorite dish du jour for the coyotes. So when you think about what you're doing, recognize it also has an impact on other members of the community, most importantly, your neighbors. I'd also like to point out that what Officer Carmack did, while it's above and beyond the duty of an officer, we have several officers who have life-saving awards. 2 officers have 3 pins, and several other officers have engaged in that. That's not to diminish what Doug has done, but that's part and parcel of the spirit that the chief and the police department have regarding protection of people and property as well. But most certainly the most important thing we have are the lives of the community. And what Doug did was certainly extraordinary, going into freezing water, breaking through the ice, breaking through the window to rescue someone who, frankly, was in grave peril, was just incredible. And I would hope that the community would look at Doug Carmack and the entire police department for the training that they go through and the sense of need to help someone in distress like that. It truly was an incredible performance. I'd indicate to the community as well that Bob Zalasko, Commissioner Zalasko, is finishing up his 5-year report or 5-year plan for the police department. So we're going to be able to move forward with that probably within the next 2 months. Total miles driven last month were 18,385, and that's for a community that has approximately 145 miles of roads. We had 86 reports and calls for animals, 31 alarms. We had last month 3 burglaries, 48 rescues, and 177 911 calls. There were a total of 1,353 calls for the department. I also would look at with self-initiated activities so that people don't think that all we do is just write tickets. We had 157 verbal warnings, and that is please slow down, please check your lights, please use your turn signals. You don't write tickets. You ask people to use their best manners and to cooperate. We also had 14 warrant arrests, 2 felony arrests, and 11 misdemeanor arrests. So the officers are busy enforcing the laws, although our first and foremost priority is just to get you to follow the laws, obey the traffic, and take care of business. We had a training that involved Patrolman Brozik and Patrolman Darznik for emergency vehicle operation. We are looking at Narcan, which is the reversal of opiate overdose, and that is currently used by the fire department. My understanding is that there were some 20 cases, Chief Murdoch, last year where it was used, and we're hoping that we don't need to do that, but that's under consideration by Chief Porcarelli. And finally, I would indicate that the shelter continues to remain as much as possible a zero-kill shelter. We had 0 dogs that were euthanized in July, and we had 0 cats that were euthanized. Thanks again to everyone for their support in the community, and thank you for everything that you do to support the police department. And that's the end of my report, with one exception. I'm asking Chief Porcarelli to come up to the microphone and talk about the placement of cameras at the Playscape as well as at Sunrise Park, and I'd offer the same opportunity for Ms. O'Farrell as our rec director.
For the last couple of years, we've talked about where this Playscape was going to be. We looked at other places, possibly at down by the soccer fields here, at Water's Edge. So when I went down and looked at the Playscape, and the Kiwanis has done such a fabulous job taking care of that Playscape, it's never looked so good. I mean, just since the beginning, it's been many years since it's looked so good, and they've taken such care of it that I believed it was time for me, and I came to the board, this was months ago, and talked to you about putting in cameras there, because I felt 2 reasons, actually. If there's children involved, I think we need cameras at an area, and I just believe it'll make people feel just maybe a little more secure in where they're at with their children. We have had some problems down there. Sometimes in the summer it turns into a hangout. We were supposed to go online last Friday. We did, and then the camera failed. The company came out and found out they put in a bad camera from their contractor who they get them from, so they're replacing it. Hopefully it will be online this week. It's right to the police department. It's live. Sees the whole Playscape from probably about 18, 20 feet above. It's really a nice shot. It can zoom in. It's just another tool that we have for the Playscape. And the second thing was I looked at Sunrise Park, and there's a couple issues down there that we've been dealing with, and I thought it's time also that we get bids for that one, that area too. And 2 reasons. Number 1, there are kids that go down there, and number 2, there's water. And I think if there's kids in water, that it's prudent that we have some type of device to see what's going on. We put the signs up, there's no swimming, no going in the water there unless you have a kayak or you're doing something like that. But obviously, I think it's time that we put one down there, so I wanted you to be advised. Both places will be up and running very soon, the first one. And again, I can't believe what a job the Kiwanis has done with that. I'm so impressed with what that playscape looks like. So just so you know what's happening, and I talked to Kim already so she can tell her people, and if there's any questions or anything, we're good, and thank you, just so you know.
One thing I would like to add, Mr. Supervisor, is a neighbor of mine's family had a business down there at the Sunrise Park for many, many years. The signs are regarding no swimming are not just for decoration or attempt to keep people from using the park. It's a very serious area because of the currents, the way that the old railroad bridge was configured with the pilings and the piers, the current, the channel there. It's very dangerous. There are undertows there. Please don't swim there. Don't even think about going in the water there. It really is risky.
You know, that's an excellent point. It's not a lake. It's a river. You know, it's a channel. It's got current. So it's very important that they, abide by those rules. And I'm not saying the camera's there to watch it, but the camera is there to watch. And if we see something going on, we're able to respond without a call because we can see it through that live camera system. So I think it will help all in all for the township, for us. And again, it's for the children. And if I can do something with that, it's well worth it. And what I did mention is it's a zero cost to the township taxpayers. I've used federal and state forfeiture funds, drug forfeiture funds for both. And if there's any yearly cost or update cost, it will be paid for with drug forfeiture funds also. So again, this entire program that we've had on, I guess we have 6 areas now that are cameraed on Grosse Ile, is all no cost to the township. No cost to the township taxpayers.
I love the irony that the activities of the bad guys are paying for the policing.
I don't mind that a bit.
No, I like that.
Not at all. That's a good thing.
I just wanted to echo many years ago, it's quite a few years ago when we cleaned up the area for the first time, and I think it was Duncan and you used it as an exercise with your rescue teams and cutting down the structure that was there and all those things. I just remember, too, the vast number of nails and glass that was in the water at the water line, which is not as if the current weren't bad enough, but it's also a place where you could really get a bad puncture wound or a cut, and so it's just one more reason not to go swimming there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Wrap us up.
Thank you, sir.
Good report. Okay, that concludes trustee reports. We'll open up to the township attorney, Mr. Sorty.
But I think this is timely with the report we had, and I think the board is all familiar with the fact that as a participating member with the 33rd District Court, we're one of the smaller communities. That puts us in a rather unique situation as far as our leverage is concerned there at the courthouse. Certainly not always to our detriment, but certainly a different relationship than, for instance, Trenton or Woodhaven would have. With that, I continually have discussions with the judges there at the court, and over some of the last recent discussions have resulted in conveyance of a perceived reduction in the amount of tickets that we process through on a local level. Now, that's not the warnings that are provided, and it's not the felony situations that go through the state prosecutor's office, or excuse me, Wayne County prosecutor's office. But if you're running a court and you derive your revenue from the tickets that are run through the system, that reduction is a different view. You would have a different view of that perceived reduction than, for instance, I would have as a township resident who happens to think very highly of that. I don't know that there is necessarily a reduction. I know our officers are very busy doing the things that they need to do, but I am going to be looking into it because I think one of the things that I don't want to say forget about, but one of the things that happens here at the township is it is one of the bigger aspects of your yearly legal expenses is to operate the prosecutions at the 33rd District Court. And part of the reason that doesn't get addressed is, one, it never comes to the board level, as for instance some litigation might, or something happening, for instance, when we got the buildings down over on the edge of the airport. It's just not something that gets here. And second, quite honestly, it's not a part of the community that we all really like to talk about. It's not the topic of discussion at Kroger's by somebody whose son or daughter has been pulled over for a ticket. But no, seriously, it's not something that we generally, like to talk about. But with that, I'm going to be pulling some information from the 33rd District Court and putting together a report, because on the other end, some of our expenses have not gone down, and the demands from the 33rd District Court on the township have not necessarily changed. For instance, they're spreading out the time periods over which I'm supposed to be there to conduct hearings, and our officers are there, our detectives and sergeant are there that handling the matters. So sometimes we get spread out over a broader period, not necessarily increasing the number that we're doing, but the judge is telling us don't go anywhere, you got to stay. So I'm working on that report. I hope to have it to you by the next meeting, if not by the following meeting. I'm anticipating it's all going to be good information for the township. But just to keep you up to speed and bring up once in a while that thing that none of us really like to talk about. So thanks. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
You're looking for the report?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to add one thing in that light. When Tom talks about a ticket, we give a ticket and say it's a $100 speeding ticket. There's a perception in some communities that tickets make money for local government, or that they make money for the courts. I can tell you that my experience, both as an attorney and as having been on the police commission for a number of years, that simply isn't accurate. If you write a ticket for $100, you're having an officer appear in court, perhaps on overtime, for 2 hours. You also have court costs for the administration of that. And part of our expenses in our budget for an annual participation in the 33rd District Court, I believe, is amortized over 5 years. So that if you have 10% of the activity that goes on in the 33rd District Court, the township is going to be paying for 10% of the unfunded portion of that. So writing tickets is expensive from an overtime perspective. It's an expense for the use of the court. It's also expense for that rolling 5-year plan. So I want to make it clear that when we're doing these warnings, it's with the idea that you're going to go ahead and have that brought to your attention, and tickets are actually a last resort. They cost us money in most cases. Tom, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. From time to time, and Carl, I know you know how I feel about the situation. We're in a unique community here, in a unique situation, and my line always to the judges, as soon as you put I-75 and move it over here to the island so that our officers can write tickets to people that don't live here, we'll be happy to do that. But quite honestly, between the officers involved and myself, we know the majority of the people that are here that are there on issues, and especially with the officers, they pretty much know where the problems are and where there was a one-time mistake. So the tickets, as you indicated, is a loser for us. If we could figure out a way not to be over there at all, it would be perfect. But this is a requirement of a Michigan township that, for the public health, safety, and welfare of the community, that you provide these prosecution services, and part of the state of Michigan court system that quite honestly we don't have an option but to supply. But the amount of money that goes both to the operation of the court, and I'm not suggesting that they don't deserve any portion of that. What I'm saying, but the amount of money that goes towards the operation of the court to the state of Michigan for fees and fines, that does not come back to the township. And on our end, it becomes, that's why I'm going to look into this, and we're going to present some information.
Thanks again. All right, with that, Township Manager, Mr. Riem.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have 4 brief items. Number one, if you've noticed,
I believe it started Friday afternoon a little bit, and today was pretty intermittent. The phones at Township Hall have been working, not working. AT&T is doing some computer electronic maintenance, and we've been having some interruptions, so we apologize for that. And we believe they're all taken care of. I spoke to the Trenton city manager, and he wanted me to update the board and the community on a couple very brief items. One, the old McLeod site. We explained the process a while back. The city of Trenton chose not to accept the site, so it is being reviewed by the Wayne County Land Bank, and they have some RFPs that they will be reviewing. And I'm not sure, Mr. Supervisor, do you recall a time frame? To be determined. So that's all in process. And tomorrow, tentatively tomorrow at Elizabeth Park, the Trenton Fire Department is going to be doing a controlled burn. It is tentative, pending the weather. They've discussed with our police and fire chief as well. So prior to them actually doing this, they will contact the township dispatch, and we'll do a push notification to let everyone know that that is taking place. And number four, last but not least, has anyone heard of the Dog Days of Summer? Angela will tell you about that. Sorry, Kim.
So we wanted to shed a little light on this event that we have going on August 25th coming up. It's a Friday night. Just another way to get dog lovers of all ages up and down Macomb. A large number of the businesses will be participating in ways of giving out dog treats, paw prints on paper. We'll be offering bandanas to decorate, merchandise sales, all sorts of good fun things. There will be a chance raffle and auction, and the proceeds will go to the Groesdale Animal Shelter, and kids can come out, or grown-ups can come and meet the big red dog, otherwise known as Clifford, but not really. Enjoy fun crafts and much, much more. We'll have a little pooch parade at 5:30 at Lions Park and a look-alike contest. And then a little play on words. We're going to have some down dog yoga, so some yoga demonstrations from Yola Johnson, one of the residents here, between 6 and 7, and hopefully that will spawn off some more down dog in the park in the future through the fall. And then we're going to finish the evening with The Secret Life of Pets on the big screen at Macomb Commons. So come one, come all, and enjoy.
Thanks, Angela. All right, on to the supervisor's report. Let's see. First of all, good news. The Safewise has their Safest Cities report. It's out again for 2017. Nationwide, communities above 10,000 people, we were 26. Okay, so we're the 20, by the FBI crime reports, in the entire United States, we're the 26th safest community above 10,000 feet. State of Michigan, we're number 7, and Michigan included communities down to 5,000 population. So that's pretty good. You know, so again, we're talking about the capabilities of our police force, but it's also, it's the police, it's the community mindset that we just don't put up with some of that stuff. More cameras help too. So anyway, that's the good news. Let's see. And Mr. Malvesto, I was advised to remind the residents of the garage sale. Mr. Malvesto brought that up. So it's coming up this weekend. Margie will still take reservations, although she will probably complain. What we really want to know is the Wayne County Bridge. And information was coming fast and furious. I'll give you a little background. Let's see. The bridge was built. The Canada Southern Bridge Company, a subsidiary of the Canada Southern Railroad Company, built the rail bridge in 1873. 1931 was converted by the Michigan Central. They converted the then Michigan Central Railroad's bridge into a vehicular bridge. The original bridge, and this is stuff I learned in my first meeting with Dale and I, the first meeting with Wayne County. If you look at the old pictures, the bridge was a trestle bridge. It was a railroad bridge, much narrower than now. When it was converted to a road bridge, most of the trestles, in fact, the only trestle that remains is in the swing portion. So it was widened, and the number of piers were doubled. There are now 12 piers. I'm not exactly sure how they're counted. The even number piers are on cribs, and the cribs were the railroad construction of the time. There were apparently 6 or 7 originally because the spans were much wider, again supported by the overhead trestles. They were built, cribs were built in the water, the cribs were built filled with boulders, and the concrete piers were poured on top of that. When they converted it to a road bridge, they went down to bedrock, and those piers have not budged. There's some scouring, so the even number cribs are on piers, odd number ones are on bedrock. There has been some deterioration to the crib foundations and some settling. That's what we learned from the inspection where we, what was it, June? For a few days.
Yeah, and if I may, I believe there's 6. The southern ones are the cement down to bedrock. The northern ones, which would be right next to them, would be
the west.
Yeah. North and south.
Bridge runs east-west.
Bridge runs east-west. Yeah. On the, if you look under the eastbound are the cement. Under the westbound are the.
I don't know if that's true or not. I thought they were different because if you look at the original pictures of the original rail bridge, those spans are twice as long as they are now. So more cribs were added, or more piers were added.
More piers.
But anyway, we're expecting the report from the inspection of the bridge on the 18th. We're expecting that, and we'll expect an in-depth meeting with Wayne County sometime after that. So I've tried to put out everything I learned about the bridge as soon as I knew it. I tried to refrain from my opinions. In fact, I did. What I gave you was what Wayne County gave me. It's their bridge. So I only put out what was officially released to me. Sometimes the timing wasn't exactly perfect, but I got out to you as soon as I got the information. Maybe some of the maintenance crews did not get it at the same timetable. But let me put one other thing to bed. There are no plans for a replacement bridge. So you hear that come up. There are no plans to replace that bridge. That's our bridge. I hope we can keep it. We can keep it fixed. It's going to take time and money and to do it right. So I took a few beatings from, I will figuratively speaking, as to we were unable to get information out to people. So we used every means available, Facebook, the Township Facebook, the app, the website. We got the numbers up to, let's see, the Facebook went to over 12,000. My Facebook went to over 12,000 people. The Township to 5,300. The 3 app notifications at 4,000. And it did help get the numbers of app participants up, so that was good news. 3 of those, assume 12,000 views. We're doing the best we can. I think we did a pretty good job of getting the information out. I know there's no newspaper. Why would you wait until Friday for what's happening today? If you don't have the Grow Seal app yet, please get it. That's our fastest means of communication. We'll be using it again. And other than that, check the website, and then we have a couple of newspapers coming out with pictures and catch-up. And that will conclude my report. With that, public comment. 3 minutes, any topic. You know the rules. Mr. Heil.
Trouble last time I was here. Can you hear me right now?
I can hear you. Right, there you go.
Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, but I'm right in front of you.
I'm here for a couple of quick purposes. We have recreated recently the Grow Seal Civic Association. That thing had originally been organized years ago. It fell into less active activity, and today we're resuming activity with the purpose of providing information to stimulate thought and comment about issues that face this township. New officers have been selected. Craig Pilkington is the secretary, Greg Karmazin is the treasurer, and I am the president at this time. Greg has expressed quite a bit of attention and interest in the condition of the bridge, and recent things that were on Grow Seal Civics issues were his source. And the intent there is to try and be as aware as possible. He knows a great deal about that bridge, and it's hoped that that will be a service to the public. That's basically the gist of that point. Speaking for myself, I think that the issues that were brought up tonight in the study session and some of the remarks made by Bill Caustic pertinent to roads and pipes, the stuff pertinent to the pension fund, the comments about what we don't know is our future responsibilities to the bridge. We have sewage pipes, we have water pipes that was mentioned briefly there for West River. These are all issues that we face that have steep potential costs. They're issues that we face that have us looking at ourselves to find new ways to do more and to do it more creatively. And I like the cooperative spirit that I heard that was expressed. And I think that the intent of this association is to try and keep the public informed, to try and stimulate the idea of a cooperative attitude, to help provide some lubrication to the idea that if you understand something, you may not like it, but you can accept it. And then that helps make progress, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heil. Other comments from the public present? Mrs. Walker.
Hello, Kathy Walker, Thorpe Court. For those who don't know, tomorrow We Kayak is having a very special a lighthouse paddle. It's the first time we've ever done this. It's a big deal. We've had almost 2,200 people view it, which we ought to get a big turnout tomorrow. Hope we get more, so I thought I'd mention that. If anybody's interested, come on down, bring your water, your hat, and a light, because we might be a little late. But it should be interesting to see the lighthouse from that vantage point. And secondly, how are we doing on the audit? Is it completed? So last year's audit, how long did that one take? So 6 months or so. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Hi there, Mr. Clark.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. There's going to be a cancer prevention convention at the Pilot House on Sunday, August 27th from 9 a.m. till 7:30 p.m. The cost is $65. A lot of good people who are going to be there as Ty and Charlene Bollinger, Tony Jimenez, Mercy Jimenez, Daniel Nesum, Daryl Wolfe, Robert Bell, Dr. Patrick Hoffman, Dr. Patty Chelnick, Stephanie McKeith, and Annie Brent. And it's going to be a long, long time, but these guys are good on cancer. So if you're interested, come on down. Okay, next. The last meeting and the meeting before, you got raises to people in the township. I would like to know who they were, how much they were, and what they are now. You don't have to give it to me now.
Thank you.
I'll get it next meeting, but I'd like to see it in print. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comments from the public present? Mr. Walker.
Why it is, but this room seems to get bigger every time I walk up here. I listened to the chief with great interest about the cameras that he's talking about installing at the Playscape and at Sunrise Park, and some of the cameras that I'm aware of elsewhere are here on the island. Now, Kathy and I, we live here on the island. We have a boat at another marina nearby. She put in 4 cameras at our house. She put in 4 cameras at our boat. And if you really want to have security, our police department is wonderful. We have a very low crime rate. But having cameras around your house or your front dock or wherever you have property that you value, they're not that expensive, and you really should consider buying them yourself and installing them and utilizing them. We'll be at our boat, and Kathy is looking at her cell phone. She's, oh, nobody's at our house right now. Good. She's at home. Oh, nobody's at our boat now. Again, good. This is stuff that people can buy themselves. It's not that expensive, and they can monitor their own property. And if they see something that they shouldn't be seeing, somebody breaking into their house, for instance, you can call your the police from wherever you happen to be, and you have a record on film of what the people look like. It would really help out a lot of people here on the island. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any other comments from the public? I can't see behind the podium. Any hands? With that, I will take a vote to adjourn open session and retire to closed session.
So moved.
Okay, I'll go with a move by Trustee Bletcher and seconded by Trustee Budney. Good old. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That meets the 2/3 vote requirement. We will now adjourn to closed session. And we will.